This video is brought to you by Warby Parker. What's up, guys? Michael here, and today we're talking about the only franchise in the world in which an all-star athlete shares top billing with a talking rabbit. That's right, Space Jam. The original movie had a lot going for it. Visual panache, an astoundingly committed human cast.
You kick it into the girl bunny, down in the post. You dish it back out to the guy bunny. You swing it around the mic over here. You go to the hole and dominate. We on defense.
And a now kind of uncomfortable to hear soundtrack.
I believe I can fly.
It just sounds gross now. Anyway, it quickly became a childhood staple for millions of viewers, digging out a space in their hearts. With the release of Space Jam: A New Legacy, Warner Brothers did its best to crack open those same hearts and mine them for all their juicy nostalgia. Because in today's Hollywood, nostalgia, not money, not stardom, not top-tier directing prowess, is the most valuable resource. But what are movies like A New Legacy actually doing when they recycle our precious childhood memories? Is it a neat way to revamp the past, or just a cynical cash grab from an industry low on ideas? That's a lot to unpack, so let's talk it through in this Wisecrack Edition on Space Jam: Why Nostalgia Rules Hollywood.
What I'm trying to say is, we need your help!
But before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to this week's sponsor, Warby Parker. Warby Parker makes boutique quality eyewear without the boutique prices. They are committed to providing exceptional vision care both online and in stores. They offer eyeglasses, sunglasses, eye exams, and contact lenses. And maybe most importantly, Warby Parker glasses look amazing and are available in a variety of styles. And their glasses start at only $95, including prescription lenses. And if you're not feeling like heading to the store, you can order your glasses from the comfort of your favorite chair with Warby Parker's free at-home try-on program. You can get 5 frames shipped directly to your house so you can see what looks best on your own face. You have 5 days to decide which ones you like with absolutely no obligation to buy. Shipping is free, and they even include a prepaid return shipping label. I took their quiz to find my ideal glasses, and it only took me a few minutes, and I had my frames within days. In the past, I've ordered glasses online without trying them on, and when they showed up, I realized it didn't quite work for my face. But with Warby Parker's at-home try-on program, I got to take my time, try out 5 unique frames, and even ask my trusty roommate what she thought looked best on me. So find your own perfect glasses with Warby Parker's free home try-on program and try 5 pairs for free by going to warbyparker.com/wisecrack. There is no obligation to buy, so it's risk-free. So head to warbyparker.com/wisecrack today. Now, back to the show. First, let's look at the original 1996 Space Jam. The film features a disgruntled Michael Jordan getting sucked down a golf hole, only to end up playing basketball alongside the Looney Tunes in an all-or-nothing game against a bunch of aliens. And while that synopsis sounds straight up ridiculous, it turned out to be exactly what movie audiences were looking for, ultimately netting over $230 million.
Come on, Michael, it's game time. Get your Hanes on, lace up your Nikes, grab your Wheaties and your Gatorade, and we'll pick up a Big Mac on the way to the ballpark.
But the film's success went way beyond the movie stubs. It was an absolute merchandising giant, launching a tidal wave of t-shirts, sneakers, and video games that one industry insider estimates garnered somewhere between $4 and $6 billion. And of course, there was also that iconic soundtrack, which went platinum 6 times over and launched the film's signature track, sung by an artist who was also a horrific sex criminal. In short, if you were the average kid in the late 90s, then Space Jam wasn't just what you were watching, it was what you were wearing, reading, playing, and listening to.
Speaking of toys, you know all those mugs and t-shirts and lunchboxes with our pictures on them?
Yeah?
You ever see any money from all that stuff?
Not a cent.
Me neither.
It's a crying shame. We gotta get new agents. We're getting screwed.
And this kind of attachment is exactly what Space Jam: A New Legacy was banking on. The new film stars LeBron James as he is sucked into the Warner Brothers serververse by a nefarious algorithm named Algorithm, and written by someone who, like me, appears to have a very shaky understanding of what algorithms actually do.
They're alive! alive!
After taking a quick tour of all the other properties which Warner Brothers would very much like to remind you that it owns, King James is forced to save the day by, you guessed it, teaming up with the Toons and dunking on a bunch of animated bad guys led by his own son. In short, it's a very familiar story.
You want me, a talking cartoon bunny, to play with you, an NBA superstar, in a high-stakes basketball game? Sounds awfully familiar.
The sequel is part of a major contemporary trend. Studios reanimating a decades-old piece of IP, i.e. intellectual property, like they did with Star Wars, Creed, Rambo, and a host of others. And this because the first thing this kind of nostalgia does is provide a really reliable payday for the studios at a time when they desperately need it. Of course, nostalgia has always been a sort of secret sauce for Hollywood. From Singin' in the Rain's mid-century look back at silent film, to the way Indiana Jones and Star Wars drew on serials from the 40s, right up to the industry's contemporary enthusiasm for remakes and reboots, there has always been a wide audience for films that gaze backwards. In fact, even the original Space Jam was steeped in nostalgia. It arrived at a time when the Looney Tunes were looking for a new lease on life after over half a century of cartoons. So Warner Brothers borrowed some credibility from one of the world's most popular people, Michael Jordan. Incidentally, Jordan was in the middle of some image repair of his own, amidst rumors of a gambling problem, his shock retirement from the NBA, and a kind of surreal stint as a minor league baseball player. Even as he returned to the NBA, there was real uncertainty as to whether he could fully restore the beloved Air Jordan era. So Space Jam doubly revived the past, telling a story in which those glory days never ended, making Looney Tunes and Michael Jordan relevant again, and letting Jordan save the day just by being really good at basketball. While Hollywood has always loved a good nostalgia film, it's become something like their main game in recent years. As doctoral candidate Matthew Cooper found, over the course of the 2010s, the number of nostalgia films among the 50 highest domestic grossers rose steadily, from 2 in 2010 to 11 in 2019. So if you feel like every other movie released today is either a remake, reboot, prequel, or sequel, congrats, you're right. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Hollywood has run out of ideas. It's more that the ideas we're already familiar with tend to be reliably more bankable. And to understand why, we need to understand what nostalgia is and what makes it so powerful. And we'll leave that to one of TV's most cynical and drunk protagonists.
Nostalgia. It's delicate, but potent.
Sounds a little like a basketball court stacked with Looney Tunes and a beloved charismatic NBA player. Now, the word nostalgia was initially coined to describe an apparent medical affliction suffered by homesick Swiss soldiers in the 17th century. Since then, it's gradually evolved into a term for what Mr. Draper describes, the sweet, slightly melancholic sensation of being transported back to a place in time where we feel more at home. And this sensation seems to have become a central part of today's pop culture, with literary scholar Svetlana Boym even describing nostalgia as the incurable modern condition. So why are we all so obsessed with the past? Well, largely because the present kind of sucks. Pretty much every aspect of 21st century life has become fraught with uncertainty and instability. From the economic shifts, which have created a generation of renters and gig workers, to the technological changes which have transformed our social lives and communication, to a pop culture which burns through content at an ever-increasing rate. Oh, and also the modern plague. This has created what Polish sociologist Zygmunt Bauman described as a liquid modern world. That is, a world which is changing too rapidly to keep up with. So it's no surprise that many of us find ourselves grasping backwards in search of something solid to hold on to, whether it's the antics of Wile E. Coyote or the star power of Lola Bunny. It's also worth noting that the liquid world of the 21st century has left the film industry in the weeds. Streaming services have issued a major challenge to the central place that movie theaters once occupied. Meanwhile, advances in technology have made it possible for television to tell stories with the same sort of scope and polish as Hollywood's fare. In short, modernity has rapidly marched us towards a place where the movie business is unsure of its place in the world as any of us regular schmucks are. And just like us, the studio bigwigs have developed a tendency to meet this uncertain future by retreating into the past, with familiar IP and franchise-building movies seeming to be the only safe bet. Hence why Disney has 109 Star Wars spin-offs in the oven, Clifford the Big Red Dog is about to slobber all over our screens, and Greta Gerwig is making a Barbie movie. And also, hence why we have Space Jam: A New Legacy, a film which exists both to cash in on our affection for the first film and to advertise The Matrix, Austin Powers, Fury Road, and all the other beloved movies which viewers can find on HBO Max after the end credits roll.
The possibilities are endless. You'll be the king of Warner Brothers.
But what are these films really doing when they serve us up all the warm 90s feels? Arguably, nothing good. The key problem with films like A New Legacy is that they offer only what scholars like Emily Kiteley and Michael Pickering refer to as regressive nostalgia. Films which, in their selective utilization of idealized images from the past, only attend to backward longing while ignoring necessary dimensions of lack and loss. Basically, these are films which are shot through a rose-tinted lens and that make no attempt to question whether things really were so much better back when Michael Jordan ruled the court, or why we're so attached to these specific Looney Tunes themed morsels of the past. And so, A New Legacy seems content to recreate or nod to moments from the film that it's echoing, rather than offering any sort of nuanced commentary about the original. Instead, these films bank on what is proven to be a pretty fair expectation. The viewer's childhood attachment will be enough to keep them engaged. This might be a good strategy when you're just trying to sell people more of something they already like, but it boxes filmmakers into making movies that exist solely to nod back at those which came before. And that's basically what A New Legacy amounts to. A feature-length reminder of movies you once enjoyed.
What in the Matrix hell?
But there's something slightly more sinister about all this, and it has to do with the way IP functions in Hollywood. As the entertainment industry increasingly consolidates under just a few corporate umbrellas, IP has become its product. From Disney acquiring Star Wars to Viacom CBS further building out the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender. IP overlaps with nostalgia because it entails recycling beloved characters and worlds to capitalize off of brands rather than creating challenging works of art. And indeed, the entire premise of Space Jam: A New Legacy and most of its gags are predicated on the fact that Warner Brothers owns a ton of IP, and thus, effectively a more than decent hunk of the media we already know and love. But rather than questioning the increased consolidation of the entertainment world, the film argues that this reality is objectively good because it allows for fun, cinematic universe crossover moments. As John Semley notes in The Baffler, the original Space Jam was also chock full of references, but it evoked properties outside the Warner Brothers universe, like Patton, Pulp Fiction, and Doctor Who, and even has vaguely subversive moments that mock Warner Brothers' sprawling empire. What's more, the Looney Tunes explicitly seem to fear an IP-driven, recycling-obsessed world. After all, if they lose the big game, they'll be consigned to perform at a theme park, replaying their greatest hits.
The horror.
Space Jam: A New Legacy, in contrast, stays firmly within the Warner Brothers universe. It's literally set inside a digital manifestation of this world, and it's nothing if not a celebration of this reality. It expects us to be happy that these guys own everything we love. As Semley writes, Space Jam foretells a future, if not a present, that wants us to recognize the realities of intellectual property. It asks us not to forget the condition of our own subservience to megacorporations, but to cheer it. In this way, it's arguably even less subversive than its original, manipulating our nostalgia to make us more comfortable with the vaguely uncomfortable realities of an entertainment world driven by consolidation and branding. In stark contrast, other long-running franchises have perfectly shown how nostalgia can also be used to more positive ends. In Kodak and the Lens of Nostalgia, scholar Nancy Martha West argues that nostalgia does not necessarily entail retreat. It can equally function as retrieval, as a means of reclaiming the past and even of shaping the future. And we've seen that with films like Creed, which hand the Rocky series off to a new generation of characters in a way that both pays tribute to the past and lays a new path for the future. Sure, we get that iconic Rocky music playing when Adonis rises to his feet in the climactic battle.
Go get him.
But we also get to see how the world has begun to move beyond Rocky himself. The film lets us be okay with the fact that he's not the Italian stallion anymore, and gives us a new hero to cheer for. Similarly, we've seen the Star Wars sequels wrestle from picture to picture with how much of the past they were willing to kill in order to move the series forward, and how much time they would rather spend simply playing the hits. One movie tries to move the story on to a new set of characters who aren't tied to the old heroes and villains. Then the next one,
let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
Well, the next one, you know how it went.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
But is there anything redeeming about nostalgia that doesn't explicitly move the series or franchise forward? Maybe. A 2012 Oxford University study called Nostalgia, the Gift That Keeps On Giving, argued that nostalgia, a sentimental longing for a personally experienced and valued past, is a social emotion. It refers to significant others in the context of momentous life events and fosters a sense of social connectedness. And with something like Space Jam, when we are able to share a nostalgic attachment and even maybe transfer that nostalgic attachment from one generation to another, i.e. from millennial parents to their video game obsessed kids, we widen the web of people whom we can connect with through it. In a modern era defined by discontinuity, maybe even something as goofy as Space Jam: A New Legacy can offer us a little of that much longed for sense of stability. Because nostalgia isn't always just about the past. As Svetlana Boyam argues, the way we experience nostalgia actually tells us more about the time we are currently in than the one we're looking back on and the future we're looking towards. She writes, "Fantasies of the past, determined by the needs of the present, have a direct impact on the realities of the future." Essentially, you can tell a lot about where we are right now and where we are headed by which parts of our past we choose to idealize and which ones we try to reevaluate or discard. And that, in our estimation, about sums up Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Since 1935, I've been getting respect.
We're at a point where the industry thinks that the only reliable movie is the one you've already seen, leading to the sort of cinematic snake eating its own tail. Familiar characters charge through scenes from familiar movies until the end credits roll. But what do you guys think? Is the movie industry doomed to become an ever-turning carousel of past images for us to get misty-eyed over? Or are there still exciting possibilities to be explored in the era of nostalgia? Let us know what you think in the comments. Special shout out to our patrons for all your support. Dunk on that subscribe button like your King James himself, and don't forget to ring that bell. And as always, thanks for watching. Later.